Grazie. So, switching gears again, let's talk a little bit about AI, Bastian, and its transformative impact on the sector itself and the work you've provided, you've done, conducted throughout the past month. Welcome.
Thank you very much for the nice words of introduction, and thanks everybody for joining in this now late afternoon session. And I would like to take the next minutes to talk you through AI and how we can use AI in the insurance value chain, as this is the main topic of this conference, how we can use this and how we have used this with our clients. And so therefore, let's transform insurance. And I've brought a little agenda, very classic. I'm an actuary, so I need a classical agenda. So first of all, I need to introduce you to the oldest Insurtech company in the world. Afterwards, I would like to give you a real example, something that we have implemented quite often, that we are currently implementing in the GCC. And afterwards, I thought, okay, just examples what we are doing. Let's look together into the future. What will happen? What will change the insurance in the upcoming months and years? But first of all, welcome to the oldest Insurtech company in the world, nearly 200 years old since 1828. And this is us, this is Willis Towers Watson. And this is, if we talk about Insurtech, it's insurance, consulting, and technology. This is the part where I'm working for. And why are we calling ourselves an Insurtech company if we are already that old? The reason is we are developing software since quite a lot of years and try always to be at the leading edge of what's just happening. And we have a huge amount of expertise through actuaries, through data scientists, and technology experts. But I promise not to talk too much about us. So let's talk about the insurance value chain. And if we want to talk about the insurance value chain, we just need to have a look to the insurance value chain. And I just printed one possible insurance value chain. We can now discuss very long if this is the right one, but it's at least one insurance value chain that we can agree on. And basically, each and every element in this insurance value chain can be used to establish techniques around data science, advanced analytics, and artificial intelligence. Let's have a look to marketing and products. It has been touched today already quite some time. We call it dynamic products. So we know our customers want to have something specific and not just something which is a certain order that we provide. They request something and we would like to answer to their request. And using such techniques, we would be able to develop a real dynamic product. Let's look to underwriting and commercial underwriting for a second. Let's assume you are a following insurer typically, so you're not a leading insurer and you just receive like a 100 pages report about some kind of industry that has been reviewed, and then you need to read this and come up with a price or need to understand if you can agree with the price. How much reasonable is this to read 100 pages or just using a text mining algorithm to just get the key information that you need instead of reading 100 pages? Pricing is something which I will touch on my very last example. And let's quickly look to claims and reserving. So reserving is for sure one of the very traditional parts, but also here, at the moment, a lot of companies looking forward to use machine-led reserving techniques just to improve the speed and just to see results much earlier and much faster, especially under all the new reporting requirements. However, let's go to our example. And I promised you, I show you how we improved with Claims AI, a process for one of our clients or for a couple of our clients to just make the process simply better. But one step back. First of all, we should ask ourselves, we are an insurance company. We are not somebody who is just doing AI because we want to do AI. We need to have a reason to do it. And if we look to the claims process, there might be three main motivations to do something better. The first is faster claim processing. So the faster we can process the claim, the cheaper the claim will be because claims handling will be cheaper. And the faster I know my result, which is very critical. Better customer experience. So if our clients are happy, so for example, if I report a claim and are really satisfied, I will tell Alexander and tell him, listen, XYZ insurance was fantastic, yeah? And what will happen if you look for the next insurer?
I will recommend you go back to you.
Exactly. So this is extremely important. We need to look for our reputation and lower cost. We can, for example, detect fraud is something that we discussed. We can really speed up our entire process by also achieving much lower costs. But why do we even have a problem? Why does it happen already fast? The reason is we need to understand our Mr. Claims Handler. And Mr. Claims Handler has a lot of things to do. And this is an example of all the aspects that a claims handler who is working and maybe on paper or in a more modern times with some kind of database, and all this needs to be reviewed. And if he needs to look after all those things, just think of this, it's a nightmare. So in the first and more simplified steps, you could use maybe some kind of robotic process automation and could move things like chasing the customer or paying to a robotic process automation. But we see still the majority of components is still with the claims handler. So we need to do a next step. And here we come to AI, because AI can help us here to move much more components from the claims handler to the artificial intelligence. And the combination of claims handler, robotic process automation, and artificial intelligence can help us to improve the process. And how looks this now in a real example? Apologies for a complicated screen, but I will explain it. So this is the typical interface that our claims handler is using at the moment. And now I'm calling my claims handler because I had a car accident, and just call him, give him my policy number, tell him what's happened, and he enters this into the system. And now the tricky thing comes. We using some kind of API call. The claims center will never see that this will happen. And we'll bring in information into our clever system. We enrich this with data because we have more data. We can use external sources, like knowing what is the current value of our vehicle? What would be the current costs if I repair this vehicle? And then I can run some clever actuarial, and once need to say actuarial models, and can just get the information. What is the probability of my claim size? What's the probability of a total loss? What is my claim size? I could also do other things, everything in parallel. What's the probability of the same claim being a fraud? All this can be done in parallel. And how long does this take? 1-2 seconds. And the claims handler, who I'm just talking to, just looks at me and sees, okay, I get the results. So at the moment when he clicks and enters this into the system, 1 or 2 seconds, and he sees the results and sees, okay, there is a loss likelihood of 90%. So it's a total loss for me. I just offer him 8,000 USD for his car, and he can go away with the money, and the claim is done. So I don't need to send the car to a car repair shop who makes an analysis and then just says it's a total loss. I can just take the car to my salvage shop, and that's it. So it's the increase of the speed for myself, and in parallel also the satisfaction of the customer. So, and this is a bit what we see in real life. So what we see, and I think this is the most important thing for everybody involved, we improve the speed from 3 weeks to 3 days for such a process. And what's even more important, and we come back to the reputation, the emotional impact for our customers in such an accident situation is significantly improved. So he will become much more satisfied. The burden is not as big as it would be otherwise. And for sure it's important. We have an accuracy level of around 90%, which is definitely something we really would like to achieve. So, but I promised you not just to talk about what we have done, I will also talk about what we will do in the future. And we have a vision for this. To understand what we want to do in the future, you first need to understand what we do now. Everybody is analyzing data. We have our actuarial departments. There was again the word actuarial. But they are doing it. They are doing these crazy models, burning cost models. It's the simple GLM, GBM, layered GBM, whatever you want to do, they do it. And they give you a fantastic price. But what does it help? If you have a price, what do you do with the price? Not too much, because the price doesn't help, because the price is just giving you a risk price or whatever. But you need to understand more. You need to understand where you want to go. I assume most of the insurance companies would like to make profits or margins or a certain business volume. So you need a decision model which steers you towards a certain profit margin, business volume, risk, whatever you would like to steer against to. And for this, you need a real decision model. Let's assume now that your price, which is firstly mathematically analyzed, and now you decide a price strategy to achieve your targets, is now done. What do you do next? We've just seen this in the previous presentation. You need to deploy it somehow. You need to bring your price to the market. And as we also saw in the previous presentation, this should happen very, very fast. Yeah? And this is what, all those topics is what we are currently doing with our customers. Some of you might have heard that this deploy process is what we do with our so-called Radar Suite, Radar Live, but basically everything is done here. But the question is now, what is the next thing to come? And you see there is a lot of space here below this on the slide, and I will show you it is monitoring. So we would like to monitor. And basically everybody will say now, we are already monitoring, yeah? So everybody is monitoring, I hope. But the question is, how fast can you monitor? How precise can you monitor? And how do we want to understand monitoring? And if I explain myself monitoring, I'm thinking always of an airplane. I think most of you came by plane, and if you look outside and you see the flaps of the wings, yeah? When the wind is coming, they're moving very heavily and very fast. Do you think that the pilot is sitting there and making like this? No, for sure not. This is done automatically. This is done because there's a clever algorithm in the background which is moving these flaps for us. And go back to the decision part. We want to move towards a profit, towards a volume, towards a certain allocation of our portfolio. And now we need our monitoring flaps to move us exactly into this direction. And yeah, the question is just, oops, sorry, this was the wrong one. Apologies. So the question is just simply, how do I do this? And the problem is here also, we have complexity. In the future, we have tons of models which are doing all the stuff for us. We have models who are calculating the premiums, who are calculating the claims, models who are calculating probabilities of retaining our customer, of getting new customers, and all those models will be a tremendous big landscape which is feeded each and every day with new information. So each time you give a quote out to the market and it got accepted or not, this is a feedback for you. Each time a new claim comes in, this is a feedback for you. And all these informations will or might change your model. And the question is, how can you see in the best and fastest way how your model is changing? And especially, which model is changing, what is the impact, and where exactly do you need to adjust your model? Because you do not want to go searching for weeks, because then the market is moving forward. You need to be the one who is reacting the fastest. And this will help you with all the topics below. So like the active portfolio management that you want to do. You need to have the manage of the uncertainties. So there's always uncertainty with everything. And you need to manage this the best way. And the complexity, as I said, you have hundreds of models in your company that you need to steer. And this is what you need to work with and what you need to do actively. And I said at the beginning, we have a vision for this. And funnily, we called it Radar Vision. And the idea of exactly this tool is to say, okay, we do all this automatically. So this is just by an overnight process. It's always renewed. We provide our customers, and these are not necessary actuaries. This is very important. Yeah, these are really like the people from the business. We give them the relevant insights. We do this in a really, really fast way so that there is full transparency. and this also in a future-proven architecture. And I think this is really the target that we are thinking the market will go. And I think the one who will be the most successful is the one who has the fastest reaction, who has the fastest flaps at the wings to steer into the right direction. And I'm very happy that I managed the 15 minutes, because I was really afraid that I don't do. Thanks a lot for the attention, and wish you all already now a very nice evening. And thanks again for inviting me, having me here.
Thank you, Bastian, for your perfect timing.